Hello everybody. Some of you have multi-grade classrooms. So if you are somebody with a multi-grade classroom where you need to make sure that you are aligning your programming with multiple curriculums, this one is going to be for you. So you can see here we are on our main page. I'm actually going to go up to the top under plan because that's where you're going to find all of your plans. Now you can see I play around here a lot. I'm going to actually open up this grade 4-5. So I started playing around with this one. You will notice section 1 has the exact same outline as a single grade. So what I did was I actually selected grade 4 as my base. Typically, I would actually recommend doing it the other way and starting with grade 5, but for now, we're just going to roll with this. So here we go. Interactive math tools. Second section here, this is how we're going to start our year. And I'm going to show you a finished sample of the unit plan and then how to do it. So section 2, again, this is our unit plan. So I can edit this and I can say grade 4 and 5 number. Again, I can put in here my actual dates. So maybe it's the 4th to the 16th. I don't know, I'm just making this up. Press enter, and now you've got your timeline, which is part of the AP. You need to have that in your planning, and then all of your lessons underneath. So we're going to start with our readiness task. And you can see here, I've got grade 4 in here. I've got something that does not look like Mathology. We'll come back to that. Grade 5 lesson, a grade 5 lesson, a grade 4, a grade 4, grade 5, grade 4. Now, it's important to know that each one of these lessons do not represent separate days. These are lessons you're generally going to do at the same time. So I'm just going to put an up arrow. I can see here I've got a readiness task here and a readiness task here. I'm going to pop that one up. Sorry about that. And then as a teacher, I'm going to look at both of these readiness tasks and probably going to print them off separately so that my grade 4s are going to do one task, my grade 5s are going to do a separate task. And the reason being is because I need to know exactly where my students are at as I start this unit. So looking down, you've seen this before. These are all the curricular outcomes that this addresses. Our learning progression. Now this progression, this is why we can combine grades, because we're able to take different parts of our learning progression and merge them together. We just put kids where they are. So the big idea, grades 4 to 9, is to set real numbers as infinite. So the conceptual thread is extending whole number understanding to the set of real numbers. So in this case, for grade 4, they need to extend whole numbers understanding to 1 million. Once they've mastered that, then we're going to go to extending decimal numbers, understanding to the thousandths. If they don't understand this, we're going to move backwards. And you can see how this works all the way along the continuum. Okay, so that's really helpful when we're scaffolding and differentiating, which every class really is, but it's going to be a little bit more noticeable when you have multiple grades in your classroom. So here's the task. Again, when I go to print this out for my students, if you're your first time, you're probably just going to do a PDF. It's going to be the easiest. Just print off this for your students so that you don't have to mess around. If you've taught this for a while and you know you're quite comfortable with the content, you might want to open up a Word document, because in the Word, I'm going to have to go through Save It. I'm not going to do that today. But in the Word document, then you're able to make some modifications. You might actually know a little bit more of what you're looking for. At the end of this task, if the students are ready for new learning, we're going to pop right on into the first activity, okay? If they need further support, so I've got my little crew of grade 4s in my split class, and there are some gaps in their understanding. These are the lessons that I'm going to pull up prior to moving along. Now, you need to be careful to not spend too much time going lower. This is just to fill gaps, and then we're going to keep moving forward. Okay, so that's the readiness task for the grade 4s. Readiness task for the grade 5s. Same thing, we've got our 4 different questions here. So this is Just really makes it easy. If you're in grade 4, you're doing this handout. You're in grade 5, you're doing that handout. Okay, now what you are going to notice is next, I actually have a BTC, Building Thinking Classroom, Building a Garden activity in here. So if you recall from the first video on how to use Mathology to support your planning, you can go in and add a non-Mathology lesson, and that's what I did here. I like to start my lessons with thinking tasks. So in this case, I just went in, really quickly picked one, building a garden. Wasn't that this was the best one for this concept. I just wanted to show you that you are able to go in and add different lessons. Then in your activities, you're going to see, okay, my grade 5s are going to represent numbers up to 10 million, but my grade 4s are representing numbers up to 1 million. So you can see I'm trying to keep concepts together at the same time that we're moving through here. And then you can open those up and decide how you want to teach this in your classroom. I recommend doing one lesson and then scaffolding that lesson. Okay, so this is what that completed unit plan looks like here. When I go back to the top, let's go down into the next unit plan. So fluency with addition and subtraction. So say September, October. I'm going to edit this because again, I know that I need to have dates in my unit plan. So I'm going to say, I think the last one was the 17th. So we're going to go September 18th to October 13th. Again, I don't have real dates. I'm just picking them. Now, when I look at this outline, grade 4 readiness task activities, okay, yep, I can kind of see the scope of this. I'm going to add lessons on the right. So what lessons do I want to add? I want to add my grade 5 lessons for my grade 5 students. Under the clusters, I'm going to then look for something that looks like fluency with addition and subtraction, which this one actually has, so that is super handy. You know that not all of your units are going to align. That's okay. And then in here, I'm going to look at the different lessons that they have so that I can add them into section 2, which is my actual unit plan. So I can just click on this and then drag it over. And then I have fluency readiness task. Yep, I want a fluency readiness task, so I'm going to add that one over. Fluency exploring addition. Yep, we're going to need that one. Exploring subtraction. Absolutely. We're going to need that one. And then a consolidation. Okay, so I need all of these ones over here. And again, you can see they just like popped in. I'm going to need to move these around a little bit again. So our readiness tasks always come first because we want to see, are they ready? What do they know? What don't they know? Grade 4 and 5 readiness tasks together, perfect. Then I'm going to look for my consolidation. This is just easy to organize, right? So take my consolidation lesson, put it right to the bottom. I can also just drag it to the bottom as well. So whatever works for you. Then I'm going to actually go in again just to show you how to do this and click add a non-mathology lesson. When you get that, you're going to see up here exactly how you're going to organize this. Now, when I go over to my numeracy tasks from the Building Thinking Classrooms webpage, I can go through all of here and say, okay, maybe I want to add a class party on here. Without reading, without deciding if this is a good fit, I'm just going to say, yep, this is the one I want. So I'm going to copy the URL, go back into Mathology, paste it into here, and then I'm going to say classroom party. You're going to find a thinking task that actually fits with your unit. And URL, description, building, thinking, classroom, activity. Okay, so I'm going to save that in there. And then it should come up over here. Maybe because I pressed enter, it didn't work. Classroom party, let me try this again. BTC activity. Oh, Party. Okay, so it must be in here somewhere. Where did it go here? Okay, there we go. I needed to go to the top here and click my favorites or non-mathology lessons. So when I get this, I'm going to drop this in right after my readiness task. Okay, you can decide, often I'll do thinking tasks first because they really do provide a lot of insight. You decide the order that you want. It's your classroom. You're not right or wrong. Thinking tasks are just a really good way to get started. I also weave them through my lessons and I'm going to adjust them accordingly. Okay, so let's look at our next grade 5 one is fluency with addition and subtractions, estimating sums and differences. Okay, so then I'm going to pull this one up. So I'm going to be taking my grade 4s, estimating sums and differences, with my grade 5s, exploring. Okay, so those are going to kind of make sense. When you start to look at these, you can go through the lesson, see what you're going to do in here, and then when you look at your unit plan, you're going to say, do body steps 1 to 3 or whatever. Okay, so then you're able to go through here um, and actually write your comments so that when you go through, you are able to, oh, this is not exiting this for me. There we go. Um, so hopefully that makes sense as you are looking through here. You're also going to notice that sometimes the concepts are so similar that you can actually just stick with one. Usually it's going to be your higher grade. So if I go through and I look at, I'm going to estimate sums versus I'm going to explore, let me just look into here. I don't know how I got all these fireworks, but isn't that cool? Um, okay, so I've got all of my concepts here. I'm going to just have a quick look at my learning outcome, add and subtract within a million, including decimal numbers to thousands, and using standard algorithms. Okay, so that's going to be an important one in here. When I look at my lesson and I scroll down, work through first 2 slides as a class. So, okay, we're going to point out some work and then students are going to work in pairs to complete activities on slides 3 and 4. Give each pair a copy of Math Mat 1 thinking space and have open number lines available. Those open number lines really help students understand the concept of magnitude in numbers. So that's why we want to be working on them. They're also really just kind of a real world tool for, for students. Okay, so I'm going to look at all of these. Now, when I get to practice, this is where I might go, oh, okay, I actually do want to look at the Word document because I might want to go in here and really quickly go in, enable editing, and think, okay, where do my grade 4s lie in here? So I've got my grade 5 handout here, and then I'm going to look at my grade 4s and decide where they're going to fit in there. So sometimes you can have your students work on the same activity and just scaffold it out. Other times they're going to be working on different ones. Okay, so that's how you're going to merge your grade 4s and your grade 5s together, or whatever 2 grades you're working on, and how you're going to add those additional resources right into your unit plan, because this middle part is your unit plan. If you have any other questions or need some point of clarification, please be sure to email out and we would be more than happy to help you.